Okay, lots in this edition of News and Notes from the Fed East Flash. So let's get right to it. I'm not going to really delve into things too much. Just going to give you all the bullet points because there's a lot of them. All right. So reviewing everything that has taken place over the past 7, 8, 9 days that we haven't talked about. The last news and notes we did recorded on Tuesday night last week and aired it on Wednesday. A lot has happened since then, including the press conference for Motor City. We did have the official announcement. Yes, they are back. They're in. They're back in the Fed. Good component in that group of northern teams. And a couple of questions that people had as far as how Motor City is going to build their roster. Now, they have been given permission from the league, and I can understand them getting this preferential treatment. I won't really call it preferential, but because of the circumstances involving when they had to go dormant and everything, they have remained an active member of the SPHL, even though they weren't fielding a team in the ice. So they will have the opportunity to go back to when they had the roster, 24, 25. Last season they were active. And those players that were traded away or let me recant that. As far as at the end, in April of 2025, they had a roster that was dispersed. They will have the opportunity of contacting those players and saying, would you like to come back to the Rockers? If so, players will go, yeah, okay, and they will sign. If they are playing with a different organization now and they want to stay with that other organization, those players will have the option to stay where they're at. I can't off the top of my head think of anybody right offhand, but players will have that option. So, there was 18, 19 players that were dispersed or picked up in the dispersal draft, and the Motor City will have first right to them. So, the first opportunity to get those players. All right, now, Motor City is one of two teams that has volunteered. They said, yeah, you're looking for somebody to travel to California, play in California? We'll go. Port Huron, likewise, yeah, we'll go. So now both teams, of course, owned by Ken Andrews. Ken Andrews is one of the three members that are serving on this temporary committee for league operations that is kind of a bridge between the Board of Governors and the Commissioner's office. Of course, they are looking for a single person to eventually become the director of league operations. That person will serve in the role of commissioner once that person is hired. But nonetheless, getting back to Ken Andrews, yeah, he said, yeah, by all means, since California is offering to help subsidize travel costs, yeah, we have nothing to lose. We'll go. They want to set a standard for the other teams in the SPHL. Of course, nobody has to go to California if they don't want to. But for teams that are willing to make the trip, it'll happen. Okay, so PD, of course, was the big story this last weekend, and it has really shaped, or in some cases reshaped, a lot of people's perspective as far as the FPHL, the SPHL, how those two bodies look to people right now, it has definitely changed things. Now, it is important to stress that the SPHL approval given to PD for membership is conditional. There are certain things that they still have to work out and tie up before they can officially join the SPHL. All right, a lot of things that need to get addressed. All right, I do think it is interesting that with the PD organization knowing that this proposed move was coming, I thought it was interesting. Gary Graham decided I'm resigning. I'd like to take a break from coaching. So he apparently was not interested in going back to the SPHL. He coached for quite a few years in the SP, as well as other places in addition. But I did find that somewhat interesting. In regards to what some people are, I don't want to belittle your position, but I think some people are overreacting with, oh, now two teams have made the jump. The FPHL is hanging on by a thread, and the SP is going to just absorb all the good FPHL teams, and so on and so forth. And it's not that simple. Leaving the FPHL for the SP is not as simple as just saying, hey, we have $750,000 SP, here you go. All right, we want in. All right, it's not that simple. The SPHL, the Board of Governors, take teams through a very rigorous vetting process. Athens started working on their application to the SP before Christmas. All right, and we found out about it, late April. So they had been working on this for quite a while. They went through all the hoops and jumped through the hoops and did everything as the SP required. The Athens Rock Lobsters are a member in full standing with the SPHL. PD Ice Cats are approved conditionally. So there's a difference. All right. So yeah, it just doesn't mean that anybody with $750,000 can petition the SP. Hey, please pick us. This isn't dodgeball in fourth grade. You you're waving your hand. Please pick me. There's a lot of things to consider. I am not worried about this. I really am not. Athens did what they felt like they needed to do. PD did what they felt like they needed to do. People are looking at some other teams going, well, they're probably next to go. Not necessarily. We don't know all the details of what's going on behind the scenes, legalities, conditions that need to be met. We don't know where teams are at. So it's not as simple as just saying that Team X is probably going to go to the SPHL. Not necessarily. All right. I know there's a lot of rumors out there as far as multiple teams leaving the Fed for the SP. I don't see anyone else being able to jump for this upcoming year. At most, there's one, maybe two Fed franchises that might choose to explore the possibility of going to the SP. I don't think it's going to be this mass exodus. I don't think that every single franchise in the Fed is looking to see, hey, can we do this? Can we make it? Again, it's not a simple process. All right, let's turn our attention to some happier news. The Baton Rouge Kingfish Yep, the name has been resurrected. The website BR Kingfish, that is not barking fish. As a couple people commented, and yeah, I had to take a look at that closely as well. It's like, oh, BR, okay. Anyway, yes, the website is going to be running pretty quickly. Next few days, I think. Yep, a deal was worked out. It didn't seem like it was going to be possible, but it was. This is a new ownership group. This has nothing to do with the Zydeco's previous ownership. Okay. The only thing that's in common right now is both teams have the name Baton Rouge in the title, and they will be playing at the Raising Cane River Center. Okay. That is it. The similarities stop there. This is an expansion team under completely different ownership than what the Zydeco had. So, new team, and it will be treated as an expansion franchise. Okay, let's see. The old website, the Baton Rouge the Zydeco website was parked earlier this last week, and yeah, we are making the transition to the new Baton Rouge Kingfish site. This is extremely good for Monroe, for Mid-South, even Columbus. There's a little bit of a travel there, but it's not too bad. So this is a very big market that the Fed wants to keep. Okay, talking about Athens really quickly. They did release their protected list with the SP. Now remember, the SP, the teams release their protected lists. The Fed does not, for reasons that I do not agree with. Personally, I think the Fed teams should release their protected list. They used to, but fans were, being put through so much anxiety. Is, oh well, so and so is not protected now. We're going to lose him, and well, yeah, that happens. That happens. We become very attached to our favorite players on our favorite team, and we don't want to see them go anywhere else. But it happens. It's part of the business. Maybe an unfortunate part, but nonetheless, I hope and pray that maybe beginning next off season, the Fed will go back to a policy. It's like, yeah, we're going to have teams put their protected list, post them on social media or on their webpage, whatever. But yeah, Athens did that. If you noticed, Athens protected Gus Ford. Now that Athens is an SP team, Gus Ford has his rights held by two different teams, two different leagues. He is currently, his rights with the Fed are with the Twin City Thunderbirds, but his SP rights are held by by Athens. If he chooses to play with Athens next year, he is absolutely free to do so. If he decides, you know what, I'm going to give it one more go around with Twin City, he's free to do so. Okay, let's see. Moving on. We're talking about protected lists, and that kind of leads into the expansion draft. Now, the Fresno Falcons have made announcements a couple different times on their social medias that draft day is June 9th. I am not saying that Fresno is wrong, but they're the only team that is announcing that and making that announcement. The league has not confirmed that date. I'm not saying that that isn't the date or won't be the date, but that is not confirmed. Okay, so in the meantime, Fresno is planning a big party, a big, meet the staff and giveaways and stuff like that, and that's fine. That's great, regardless of whether the draft is on the 9th or not. They can do that. They can start connecting with the community. building up their fan base, building direct relationships with it. So there's nothing lost. If for some reason the draft is not on the 9th, Fresno doesn't lose anything by planning this whole party. It's just, they won't be drafting players if the league decides to go with a different day. So I just want to stress that. Again, the expansion draft date is not yet finalized and confirmed. So just to mention that. I was told some kind of an announcement from the league will be made. And now that we have this committee for the league operations, we have seen now a couple of different printouts, whether you like the what is said or not. There's a lot more communication now. This committee understands the value of being open and transparent, as open as possible and as transparent as possible with us, the fans. All right, so we're going to see more communication put on the Fed website. Okay. Keep in mind that, this is a significant change in leadership in the SPHL. Again, Don Kernan is still currently the commissioner. Personally, I feel it's time for him to step down. I know that the league was his creation, so maybe create some kind of a nice little pension fund for him. But as far as serving in the daily roles of the commissioner, it's time for Mr. Kiernan to step aside, in my opinion. This committee is making the decisions right now. They are enforcing the decisions. They are talking to the Board of Governors. Everyone has a say now. So I think this is a very important transitional time that is taking place. And it is important to know that, the Fed that you knew 6 weeks ago is not the Fed today. All right, there has been a change. There's been changes throughout different stages of the Fed's existence. This is another one, and we're going to have to get used to it. I think it's going to be much better, quite honestly. Okay, final thing I want to mention is that teams can now sign new rookies to PTOs. Remember, a PTO does not mean a player tryout, which what the acronym usually means. For the Fed, this is a placeholder. All right. If I am the GM for Indiana and I really like Jack Spratt, who's been playing in in the low level juniors, but I see a lot of upside and a lot of potential with him, I can sign him. As long as he's never played in the Fed before, doesn't have professional games under his belt, he's a new rookie, I can sign him now. And I think that's a very important thing. Now I'm giving Jack Spratt the power and the ability to come to camp at the end of September, early October, and earn a spot on the team. All right. I do not know what the regulations are this year. Last year, before the season began, with PTOs, you could sign up to 30, I believe it was 35 on the roster that you could have listed. And we've seen Columbus already sign a couple players. And that's fine. That's totally in their prerogative. Some teams are going to wait a little bit longer before they start recruiting and signing players. But for those who want to get a jump on things, they're free to do so. So, we will start seeing announcements from other teams regarding PTOs. Yeah, we've signed this guy out of college, or this guy out of low-level juniors, or tier 2 juniors, whatever. We're gonna start seeing it now. again, this does not apply to anyone who has played in the Fed, like last year's rookie C's, using Grayson Dietrich from Port Huron as an example. Okay, he played a few games for Port Huron last year. He is not a new rookie. If Port Huron re-signs him for this next year, he will be a rookie, yes, because he doesn't have 100 games played on the Fed level. But nonetheless, he's not a new rookie. All right, so Port Huron, they're free to sign brand new guys that you've never heard of or maybe never seen, unless you follow certain colleges, certain universities, certain programs. Maybe you're like, hey, I know who that is, and that's great. But yes, we will be seeing that. So that covers everything. A little bit of longer news and notes segment for today, but there was a lot to cover. So there you go. I will be repeating this segment on the Fed Flash Face-Off show, so you can tune in, catch it if you missed something the first go around. You can catch it again when the Fed Flash Face-Off show is released on Saturday. All right, I am Gary Ryan for the Fed East Flash. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again on Saturday. Also, don't forget, on Saturday, look for my WordPress page, doing a really neat article. I'm really enjoying this, really having a blast doing this. The history of the SPHL's earliest years, and this time around, we're talking about the Vermont Wild, a team that only lasted for 10 games, but it is really a very interesting story nonetheless. So make sure that you click the link on my Facebook page for WordPress, or you can go to fedleagueflash9.wordpress.com. And yes, it's still Fed League Flash. I can't change the address on the WordPress page, so I'm just keeping it as it is. So there you go. In the meantime, we'll see you on Facebook. We'll see you here on YouTube. Thank you for joining me.